Hey y'all, it's Ranger Jonah with DeKalb County, and I'm out walking in the forest close to my house right now. We're still in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and as a result, I'm not at Mason Mill Park, but I do get to go out walking in nature pretty regularly and taking you along with me. Today, I've been thinking about trees. Well, of course I'm thinking about trees. If you know me, you know that I think about trees a lot. But I thought I'd tell you one of the things that I just find amazing about trees. And it's a little bit about how they work. So I'm standing next to one of my favorite trees. This is a tulip tree. Many people know it as a tulip poplar or a yellow poplar, but it's actually related to the magnolias. And this is one of the tallest growing and largest growing trees in the Atlanta metro area. Not this one in particular. It's not gigantic, but this species. And I thought I'd use it as an example to show you a little bit about the resilience of trees and how amazing they are that they can live the way they live. Well, first of all, many of you may know that if you look up to the canopy and then you look down to the roots, there's some parallels between them. Oftentimes with trees, if you look to see the size of the canopy and how far it stretches, that's about roughly the size of the root spread as well. And those roots are constantly pulling nutrients and water from the ground. And then the tree has almost like blood vessels running underneath this bark that you see right here that brings those nutrients and water all the way up to the canopy. And also the leaves, which of course form in the springtime and stay on the tree throughout the summer, produce food through photosynthesis and then draws those nutrients down into the roots of the trees through those same tubes that are kind of like blood vessels. So underneath this outer bark, I sometimes think and call this outer bark kind of like the tree's skin. It's there to protect the tree itself, because right underneath this outer bark is a thin layer of inner bark, very, very thin, millimeters thick, that acts almost like drinking straws going all the way down from the roots to the canopy, and that is called the cambium. I think of those kind of like the blood vessels. So you have the skin on the outside protecting the blood vessels on the inside. And then that hard part that when a tree falls and maybe you count the rings to see how old it was, that inner hard part, think about that like the bones. That's the structure of the tree. That's what holds it up. And one of the amazing things about trees is that it can be damaged in one area of its cambium. But because those cambiums are almost like vertical drinking straws in a sense, that tree can still get nutrients all the way up to its canopy and then back down to its roots, even if a section of its cambium is damaged. Tulip trees in particular, in my experience, oftentimes take this kind of damage and are very, very resilient. And this tree right here is a good example of it. So let's look around on this side. And what you're gonna see is some black fungus that is dripping out of this tree. And then if you look up, you see how high that crack goes? Well, obviously this is not good for the tree, and this tree is not super healthy because of this. However, this tree still can get nutrients between its leaves and its roots through all of those other sections of the cambium layer, even though this one right here is damaged. So let's look up at the top of the tree and see how healthy it is. Do you see all those leaves and how healthy the canopy of that tree is? It's really quite amazing that a tree that has that much damage can still be this healthy. And when you see very mature, very old tulip trees throughout the city of Atlanta, you'll almost always see that they've taken a considerable amount of damage, and they have almost this twisted candelabra look at the top of them because they've either taken a hit from another tree or from some lightning or perhaps damage. I don't know how this one was caused, but damage like this one, and yet they still continue to thrive. Well, I could talk about trees all day, but I'll leave you with that. This is Ranger Jonah with DeKalb County, signing off.